Welcome to the Two Steps Ahead podcast, starring Shawn McGrew and Raul Ruiz, talking business, strategy, and growth, helping you stay 2 steps ahead. Let's get to work.
Everyone, welcome back to the Two Steps Ahead podcast. I'm Shawn McGrew.
And I'm Raul Ruiz.
And you can see that he's really Raul Ruiz because it even has his name on the wall. I
That's
want
right.
to wall my name on it.
Yeah.
How you been, man?
I have been doing pretty well, man. How about you? I see that you're out of the country now, huh?
For the moment, yeah. Just taking a couple of days here and there and working still. It's nice to break out of the routine, out of the busy stuff that's been going on. You've been busy too.
This is the beauty of doing a podcast. You can do it from halfway around the world, right?
That's right. Or on the same side of the world, just the other half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Very good, man. So what's been going on, man? I've been busy with a lot of different events here in the ecosystem. Some great convergence of minds, conference ideas, things that are happening right here. Last week was like really indicative of that. We had the Onward FX 2026, where they brought over 70 plus VCs. They had over 750 people register for that thing. It was
wow.
Crazy. Yeah. And then a couple of days later, you had
crazy.
Plug and Play, and they did their supply chain trends and forecast and trends at their expo at the Heartland Whole Health Institute, which was really cool. And they had a really big attendance as well. So that was just two things that's happened amongst everything else.
There's so much happening in Northwest Arkansas. It's incredible, the things that are just happening every day. We go back to SparkCon. SparkCon happened as well, which you attended. How was that?
Oh, that was also another thing. That's the Women in Tech Conference, and you had SparkCon, and you had these other ones. But this SparkCon was awesome, really high quality. Walmart outdid themselves this time. They in their new facility, Sam Walton Hall, on the new Walmart campus, and it looked like you were in LA or Chicago, Miami. Seriously, they had the expo
Incredible.
hall, they had the area in the middle where people were meeting, they had the big auditorium. And just quality stuff, man. It was really good. Jerry Geisler and his team in the InfoSec group really outdid themselves.
That is awesome. I wish I could have gone this year. I know they had a lot going on. It's always a good show. It always has great keynote speakers and panels and things of that nature. And I wish I could have made it, but I couldn't make it this year. I'm glad you got to go, though.
Hey, one shout out, and you'll remember this because you and I were at SparkCon together last year. You remember one guy that we've met, and now we see him everywhere around town. Chase Binney with Retail Wire.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so I told him, and I'm telling you, it's our 1-year anniversary. So happy anniversary, bro.
Happy anniversary. Heck yeah.
Especially to Chase, because he's the one that we met up. But yeah, he's been doing some good things. And if you don't know about Retail Wire, go check him out. They keep you posted on all things retail, leadership, trends, etc. But he's doing a really good job. And he's right here in Northwest Arkansas, which is the mecca of retail.
Yeah. I love the post that he does. He talks about all these different retailers. He talks about the restaurants out there, the restaurant business, and how it actually relates to retail and so on and so forth. So definitely go out there and check it out.
Yeah, making the connections. And that's what it's about, right?
Yeah.
Making connections and maintaining relationships. And we've talked about that as well. We've talked about networking. So all these things combined. And last week, within a 10-day period, it was very indicative of all those things that are happening, which sounds like it's pretty busy. Since that might be our topic today, about being busy.
Busy, that's right. Yeah. So everybody's busy nowadays, right? There's so much going on in the ecosystem in Northwest Arkansas, in the nation in general. Just you can pick and choose where you want to go, what you want to learn, what you want to learn about. It's really a thriving ecosystem out here. And definitely being busy, you can be busy pretty easily.
Let's lean into that a little bit. You can be busy pretty easily. It is very true.
Yeah.
But what does being busy really mean? Because some people look at it from one perspective and others from another perspective. So is being busy a good thing, a bad thing?
Man, you know what? That's a great question because it could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing, right? It really depends on what kind of busy are you going to be? Are you going to be the busy where you're thriving towards a goal? Or are you going to be doing busy to just do busy work? Everybody could do busy work. It doesn't mean that you're going to accomplish anything in a given day. So it really is about being selective in what you are going to do, how you're going to accomplish it, and how it actually thrives you towards your goal. What does that look like? Who are the connections that you have to make? Who are the people that you have to talk to? When you go out there and you start networking and talking to people and going to all these different events, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually doing busy work or doing good busy work, right? It really depends on who you're talking to. Is it somebody in your industry? Is it a connection that you want to learn more from or learn more with? There has to be a goal in mind, right? So for it to be good busy work, you definitely want to make sure that you are talking to the right person. If it's just busy work, then you're just spinning your wheels and not learning anything, not growing, not advancing towards your goals. So you definitely want to make sure that you do the good busy work, right? What else can
Yeah.
it be called?
No, I agree with you. And sometimes we hear people all the time, "Oh, I'm too busy. My agenda's full. My calendar is packed. I can't
Mhm.
squeeze it in." And I would also ask, like you were saying, is it meaningful? It's okay to be
Yeah,
busy. Sometimes even you can even take it on a personal level, right? When you go on vacation, are you the kind that packs it in and has an agenda, and then things start getting delayed? You got traffic, you got to go eat, you got to do this, and then things start falling apart. I'm a little bit like that to an extent because I do like to plan, but at the same time, is it meaningful, like you said? And so
right.
having things on your calendar, okay, you can have things on your calendar. Doesn't mean you have to attend and be part of it. Again,
Mhm.
taking it back to a personal level, I won't name any family members' names. They'll remain innocent and unknown at this moment. But also, I can't get anything done. I've got too much to do. There's so much going on, or you give me more. And sometimes something as simple as a checklist, we've talked about that before, and I've got to get these things done. And doesn't mean you have to get every single one of them done, but at least make progress and maybe prioritize too, right? Which ones are more important? So people ask me all the time, well, Robert, Shawn, how are you at all these things? And the truth is, I'm not. I am sometimes. I can be. Sometimes I don't want to be, or I can't be. And so what I'm saying is that there's no one way, right? And I have to make a concerted effort and decision of where and how to spend my time. So being
Right.
busy
Mhm.
is okay if it's done in the right way, like you were mentioning. So I think it's a good call out.
Yeah. I think it has to be very strategic, right? Just like anything else in life, it has to be strategic. That goal that you are aiming for has to be strategic in nature. You have to connect with the right people. And I'm not saying that not connecting with everybody doesn't make sense because it does for the most part, right? Goes back to what we've always talked about. Networking, socializing, growing your network, talking to people is always a good thing. Now, I will say that just to do it for busy work, maybe not such a good thing. But when you have something in mind, definitely is something that will allow you to grow and prosper and socialize with people, get to meet people that you've never ever talked to before that can grow you. And ebb and flows, right? Sometimes you are likely to go out and meet a whole lot of people, and sometimes you're not going to meet a whole lot of people, or sometimes you don't want to go to it. You just mentioned it. You can't be everywhere all the time. So you have to pick and choose where you can and can't be. There might be something personal that you have to attend. We also have busy personal lives as well, right? So when we have those personal busy lives, we have other things we have to attend to. So that also plays into how busy our life is going to be, not just socially, but professionally.
Yes, and there's times that those also cross. There's times many of
Right.
you out there know my kids because I've taken them to some events with me, and part of that is because of the crossing nature and convergence of activity. Sometimes they had an activity, an event that was close by, and so it was just part of that. So even for my kids, it's a sacrifice on both sides that we make, but we also join it together, and it's nice because then you have some unexpected outcomes and being able to, like in this case, talk with my kids about whatever transpired at the event that I went to and whatever transpired at their activity that they went to. But let's
Yeah.
dial it back a little bit. Let's take again a little more personal, but more into the workspace. You're a
Mhm.
recruiter. You talk to lots of people, both the candidate and the companies who want to hire. There's a lot of things that happen in between and getting to the end of that. How
Mhm.
do you, as a recruiter, weigh out the busy stuff? Because you could like really work sun up to sundown if you wanted to, and sometimes I imagine that you do. But how do you determine in how in where you're going to spend your space from a recruiter standpoint?
That's a tough question because you're right. You can go ahead and fill your day with just talking to people in general with industries and positions that you will probably never ever fill. You'll never work on because it's limitless, right? It could be from CPG to cyber to medical to transcribing to, I don't know, emerging technologies or maybe being a welder, right? So I've touched on those at one point or another, but not all of them, right? I'm like what my wife says, I am the jack of all trades and the master of none, right? It could fill up my day really quickly to talk to everybody that wants not just a job, but maybe talk about their career, talk about their how do they get a job, how do they interview for a job, how do they fill out an application, or how do they create a resume that's going to be more visible to employers. It could just go on and on. The thing is
I'm not going
that
to
you
call.
also have to be very, go ahead.
I'm not going to call you Raul anymore. I'm going to call you just Jack.
Yeah,
A lot,
exactly.
a
Jack.
lot of people aren't going to get that. It's
Jack
okay.
likes to groove.
Nice, very
So
nice.
it's really being selective and strategic in that aspect of it as well. Having those conversations that are meaningful. And I think every conversation can be meaningful because everybody has to have something in it for them and something in it for the other person as well. As long as they both have something to share, I think that's what's meaningful, right? Maybe the outcome's not going to be what they're looking for, but at least the conversation, the rapport building is there. And that's what it's about.
I totally agree. You said you're talking about language. You said strategic. Strategy is one of my things, and I love it. But at the same time, we can get like really busy. And there's times where I'm with a client, and because I focus on strategy, communication, process improvement, and in that order for a reason. But sometimes we get stuck on strategy. Is we gotta build it and go to the moon, and we gotta do it tomorrow. And like some of that is okay to an extent, but you really have to understand what you're really going for, which talk and think with the end in mind. And that's where we start. That's why I start with my clients and in that aspect before we move over. But so many people want to jump. Okay, yeah, I know what my strategy is. Here's my goal. Let's move on. Let's talk about communication. Wait a minute. That's only one little thing I heard compared to what you're saying you want to do. So let's go back. And as you said, take that time, be strategic in your strategy, in your communications, and your execution, of course. But you've got to take that time to understand what it is you're really going after. And like yourself, you're a recruiter, you're going after companies that want to hire and candidates that want to be hired. So that's pretty straightforward in one sense, but at the same time can keep you really busy, like you said. And
Yeah.
same with me. I could spend hours, weeks with a client just going over rehashing and doing a lot of things, but you really got to focus and understand what is it and truly that I want to get to, and how do we start moving that needle. So maybe moving the needle, put a needle on the record, put the needle on the record, put the needle on the record. Yeah, a little old school. Again, another thing some other people may not get, but that's okay. My boy here, Raul, understands it, and
I
that's
get
cool.
it, man. I totally get it. That's right. Hey, you make a great point, but I also want to go ahead and pivot a little bit. All right. With that said, I'm in recruiting, and when I deal with a client or when I deal with a candidate, there's a lot of reluctancy to change, right? Um,
Absolutely.
I want to dive into your world because I've recruited for consultants in the past with Deloitte, so I know how the Big Four operates and I know the challenges they have. But I want to ask you specifically, when you come across a client that knows they need your services, they need your feedback, they need your expertise, but they're not willing to ultimately change. How do you convince them to change? Because that is definitely keeping you busy. And I know for a fact it is. So how do you deal with it?
No, absolutely. Great question. And now, not one straight answer, but the best answer I can give you in the way that I approach it is active listening. And a lot of consultants hear, and then they go after, build a plan. Here's the charge. Here's how long it's going to take. And I think that's where the resistance comes in a lot, because it's I can go get plans and price sheets from a bunch of different people, but ultimately I don't know if that's really going to work or if it's worth my time and effort invested in it. And so what I do is I take a look and try to see and find something somebody is not seeing or talking about. Everybody can see that the milk has been spilled on the floor. Obviously, you got to clean it up. Obviously, there's pieces and products that go into that cleanup. But I dig a little bit deeper. How did it spill? Why did it spill? How can we avoid it? Looking at it from a different piece and maybe we don't want milk in the office anymore, or whatever. It's just, again, it's just an example that I'm trying to portray here. But that's where I try to bring in the value that they can see. And again, going back to ultimately what they're trying to go for. We want to have meetings milk free, spill free, and be able to get through it in 20 minutes and move on with our day. Okay. And so sometimes, as simple as it may seem, nobody bring milk to work or nobody bring it out if there's a meeting going to start in 5 minutes. It sounds so simple and unrealistic, but sometimes those are the pieces that people need and want to hear and see. And that's where value comes in. And so that's where I try to set myself apart from other consultants.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was aiming for because even as a recruiter, when you deal with individuals, it's either one, you are either transactional, or two, you build that rapport with that individual. And the way that you build rapport is by listening. And I don't think that changes in any industry whatsoever. If you listen to what they have to say and let them talk, first things first, when somebody starts in any industry, the first thing they want to do is overtake the conversation because they want to be known as a subject matter expert. They want to be known as the person that knows what to do, what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. The biggest thing is when you come into any industry is to listen because they will tell you what they need.
Tying that back into our topic today of being busy, if you're being too busy that you can't actively listen, you may hear, but if you're not actively listening because you're too busy, then you're missing the point and you're missing out. And so I love that you brought that up because that is very true. And you got a busy calendar, you got a lot of things going on, you got a lot of events, meetings, etc. But if you're not actively participating and listening, then you're going to miss out. And sometimes when you actively listen, not just hear, actively listen, it may lead you to change whatever other busy stuff you have. So sometimes being present and actively listening, you can actually find something that you wouldn't have. And sometimes that other stuff doesn't matter. Maybe I don't need to go to that networking event. Maybe I don't need to take that call. Maybe I don't need to worry about or whatever. But then that's where communication comes in. So that's the second part that I
Right.
focus on after the strategy. So communicating, and that's where I think people fail in because of the busy work. I'm too busy. I can't send Raul a note, and it would have taken just a few seconds. And I'll call myself out on that. My co-founder on my startup, that happened to us one time. I was in a meeting, and we were supposed to meet after, and I got caught up in that meeting, and they kept it going, and
Mhm.
I didn't send him a message. I should have just said, "Hey, sorry, running over." It would have been simple, right? But I didn't. Now, there's there's a positive and negative there. One, as I just mentioned a moment ago, stay and be present and actively listen. And I was, but then I faltered at the same time that I should have communicated for something else in that
Mhm.
aspect. And that would have saved a different heartache as well. So it's a
Mhm.
balance.
Absolutely. And that's another great point that you make because when you mess up, we all mess up, right? At any given time, we all mess up. I think we all have to stand up and say, hey, I apologize. I messed up. Take responsibility for your actions, right? No matter what those actions are, because if they're good, if they're bad, it's you who created that action. It's you who should be able to go ahead and stand up and say, I'm sorry, I apologize, I won't let this happen again, because we all make mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. And I
Right.
think everything we've ever talked about in this podcast, every discussion we've had, every topic that we've covered, we've all circled back to the same thing. Everything coexists together. And that it's the wonderful conversations that you and I have about the topics that we have that we can talk about it in and out as we go because they all correlate. And again, it all goes back to communication, goes back to listening, goes back to building rapport, not being transactional. Everything just works together hand in hand. And again, just take responsibility for your actions. And I think as a newbie or as an experienced individual, it's important to be that way. Thoughts? What do you think?
No, I totally agree. And
Yeah,
and I like what you called out. Never be too busy to apologize because
exactly. Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
will hurt you worse down the
Right.
road. But Speaking of being
Wait,
busy,
let me touch on something now that you bring that up. Yeah. And you know what? I have a pet peeve. I actually do. I hate,
I
I'm
like
going to use
that.
the word hate.
Raul, pet peeve.
Where's that siren? Put up that siren up there because we're going to call it out. I hate it when people say that they're too busy to respond to an email when it takes 15 seconds to type something out and say, I will get back with you, or no, thank you, or I appreciate the message, but I'll get back with you. Something. I can never, ever, in my 20-year career as a recruiter, I could never believe that somebody is that busy that they cannot respond to their message or their text ever. And if honestly, if they do say that they're too busy to respond, then it's probably somebody you don't want to have a conversation with going forward. Agree or disagree?
I was gonna say I like our new segment, Raul's pet peeve. I
Man,
agree.
yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
I agree. It is. And maybe we can talk about communication here on one of the future segments because it is so important. And it goes back to prioritizing goals, being human, and also what we expect if it was the
Yeah,
other way around. So I
that's
definitely
right.
think we can tie that together. He also mentioned Ro and I get people that we see on the streets and at events and around town talking about the topics we're here.
Right.
Sometimes people are uncomfortable talking about it, but listening to it a little bit more and then sharing a video like this one, they're willing. And that's fine. That's what we're doing our part because we want to keep you 2 steps ahead of yourself in life and in business and community, wherever you may be. That's the whole purpose
Mhm.
of this podcast. So we really appreciate you guys participating and don't stay too busy. And remember to take a look at what you're doing and be busy in the good sense and be busy for the things that matter to you. And hopefully you're not too busy to share this podcast with others that may benefit. So what do they need to do, Ro?
I see where you went with that. I love that. I hope they're not too busy. That's right. So make sure to like, follow, and subscribe and do everything. Comment below. Don't be afraid to comment. Also, before we go, do you know what the sundown rule is? I'm sure you do.
I do. I do. Yeah.
All right. For
What is
anybody who
it?
doesn't know what the sundown rule is, we're not going to talk about it today. I think we'll touch on it the next topic.
That sounds great. I'd like to do that. So appreciate it.
Perfect.
Hopefully you won't be too busy. And I'm going to keep an eye on you, keep you in check, and you keep me in check as well. But
That's right.
thanks for being here today on the 2 Steps Ahead podcast. Until next time, be safe.
That's right. Take care.